everyone, my name's Amanda. I am your host today in the Jam class. I'll be taking you through how to design an interactive guide in PowerPoint. Now, today's goal is to design and create everything inside PowerPoint, and this was the challenge. I didn't want to use external free resources. I really wanted to see how we can stretch and play inside PowerPoint to create an interactive guide. Now, the first creation that we'll be working on is a wellbeing guide with the illustrations that are already native inside PowerPoint. And as you can see here, we're playing with the transitions, we are playing with the shapes that are available, and using the shapes to create a card experience so that someone can navigate this wellbeing guide and pick a brain snack so that they could reset their focus. That was the intention of this guide. And then the second creation that we will be creating is a wellbeing guide again, but using more of the stock graphics. So I'll take you through how we can pick and choose and also edit some of the stock graphics to make the topography, the iconography pop even more so that it is a nice and calming experience, because this theme for this wellbeing guide is around nature and gardens and landscape, so we can have some fun in what that could look like as well. But first, I want to take you through my thinking process and why I came up with these two examples and the inspiration behind the guides. And, when you are working within an organization or doing work for workplace learning, this is a great way to use PowerPoint to allow your learner or your audience to navigate through a journey that is quite immersive as well. So the first inspiration is this. We have some fun stickers that was created for a phone case, and then we also have a mock-up and example of some tarot cards. Now I'm going to dissect some of the design elements on this page and what really helped me create the first creation of the wellbeing guide. Firstly, I was really drawn to the graffiti bold topography. I think it's such a nice, neat little way to draw our focus on our eyes to see what the font is and the type and what we want to draw our focus to. The next thing is the outline of the cards in the tarot card here. I really love the structure of the outline, and then having the, of course, text at the bottom of the illustration. I thought that was nice and neat. And then also having a solid feel color shape with the illustrations on top. So again, I think this was a great inspiration that I cherry-picked off Pinterest to really play around and help me explore how we can craft this guide to life. Now, the second inspiration that I really love and wanted to create something quite different than my usual illustrative designs is these beautiful graphics, stock images of nature and plants, and having it also blurred in the background. It's another fancy term, for this style is called morphism. And I just love that glassy effect, the blurriness, and overlaying that is the back to nature, this card here. And it just makes it pop quite a bit, which I quite like as well. And the second thing that I want to bring back is Times New Roman. So I'm just looking at my zoom in feature. I hope you like this. I'm doing it in real time. Let's bring back Times New Roman, because why not? And see how we can play with this kind of topography to see what that would look like as part of our designs. And then we have the nature stock photo, of course, which I think really creates that calming effect as someone navigates a well-being guide. So that makes sense for me. And then we have the clean iconography. I really like the line icon of this Instagram icon, and I think we can play with the iconography that's already inside PowerPoint as well. So let's get ready to Picasso in PowerPoint. Awesome. So these are the slides that we will be creating. As an example, I'm going to quickly share my screen so that you can see what it looks like. One moment as I switch it around. So we have our welcome page, setting the scene of what this guide is about. It is the brain break buffet for all of the busy brains in the workplace where they just want to take a little bit of a time out. So you can see that I've introduced the cards of the food items, which will eventually be an example of a short activity that someone can click and explore. And I select let's explore, and we can see our first navigation hub, or our homepage as you like to call it. Here is where people are able to navigate the kind of activity that they want to explore. When they move their mouse out, it takes them back to the hub. And then, of course, 1 minute exercise, mouse outwards, and here as well, which is a pretty cool effect. And as we click into the button, it will take us through to the activity in itself. And you can embed, of course, your media in here, which is cool. Just a video from Headspace that I picked up on YouTube, and some short copy on the left-hand side. Call to action, try this exercise. And if I wanted to navigate back to the navigation hub or the home page, you can select create a little button here and go back to menu, which is pretty sweet. So let's go and create this, start and open a brand new page in PowerPoint. Okay, I am going to start first with laying out the text on my page. I'm just going to delete all these unnecessary boxes, and we have welcome to the Brain Break Buffet. And the font that I am using is called Phosphate. Have a play with whichever thick, bold, impactful font type that you want to play with. This is just what I am using. So Phosphate and Solid. So definitely have a play with other font types that you like for this little exercise. So let's move this up into the top here in the center. I'm going to increase the font size to probably 36, and let's make it span over 2 lines and move it to the center. Where is my, there you go. Definitely use the help guidelines that draw in the page as you move your objects and elements around the page. Leverage the guide so everything's centered. The next thing that we are going to add is some body copy. I have it here with me. You can insert text, and I'm just going to add that in there as well, and move that to the center so it's positioned nicely. The next thing I am going to add is a button. So using the insert tab here, select shapes, and we are going to select my favorite button of all time, the rounded rectangle. Only because it gives you the flexibility to create a pill button. And so selecting the yellow square, click, hold and drag inwards, and it should automatically scale down to a nice pill button here. We want this black, so I'm just going to go into the fill and change that color to black. Make sure I remove the outline as well, so it's nice and clean. So going next to shape fill, select no outline, and there we have our button. Our button also needs some words. So let's type in, let's explore. You can add in any call to action that you see fit, but this is what I will be using. And to align the visual design approach, I'm going to keep the font type very similar to the heading. So let's change that font back to phosphate. Phosphate solid. Whoop. Awesome. And there we have our nice button. The next thing I will be doing is really creating the look and feel of our homepage. And we can start by creating a background color. So we can right click, go into format background, and then on the right hand side there is solid fill. Let's click into the color and pick a color of your choosing. I'm going to pick a nice peachy orangey color. Orange is my favorite color, so that's what I'm gonna go ahead with. You can pick whatever color that you like to suit the style of this interactive guide. Now to create some focus for our eyes as someone enters this first page. We don't want it to blend into the peach. We want to create a nice little box. So let's go into insert, shapes, and rounded rectangle. Create a rectangle that covers most of the page. I'd say probably 80% or so. And I want you to position it to the center using your guides again, which is, when I say guides, I'm talking about that red line that comes through the page to show you where it's centered. And I will be changing this color to white. So instead of this navy blue, go into shape fill. Make sure you select your object, shape fill, and change that to white. And because the curved corners are super curvy, we don't want it too curvy, we want it just slightly curved. Select your object and click into your yellow square, click and drag outwards just slightly or to your liking. I also, based on the inspiration that we were looking at before, I really want to draw focus on the outline just to make it a little bit thicker. So here we are going to go into the shape, panel shape format, and select the outline and go down to weight and select 3. You can increase it to your liking. I like 3. It just suits the design aesthetics that I'm going for. And then whilst you are selecting the shape, right click, send it to the back so we can see our font and our type. What we're going to do now is just position it down a little bit to have some breather space. I want to add more dimension to my shape that I've just created. So instead of an outline, I want to do a drop down shadow as well. So let's do that. Select your shape. Underneath the outline icon, we have the, what's it called? Shape maybe effects. Go into shadow and select drop shadow. And this shadow here right now is nice. It's a bit blurry in the background, but I want a solid color. So going back to our shadow options, and let's reduce the transparency down to 0. And we want no blur, so just 0. And here we now have a nice drop shadow. You can increase the drop shadow to your liking and you can tailor it, customize it, have fun with it. You can make it quite dramatic if you want to increase the size, or you can shift the angle around and do it on the other side. It truly depends on how you want to be creative. So that's all is welcome. Now that we have our rectangle, let's start placing the cards in various directions so that we welcome our audience, knowing that they are going to, there's some kind of cards coming in, so the anticipation is there. And I'll just quickly share with you the inspiration. So we're going to now create the scatter of our cards just for that fun look and feel. And how I'm going to do that is making sure that my design is consistent. We have already created a rectangle, so let's select that shape, Control C and then Control V. and scale it down and create a card. You can create a square card, you can create a rectangle card. I'm doing it about this size. And I like to tilt it again to add some dimension to the page and texture. Command C or Control V, Control C, Control C, Control V. I'm on a Mac, so my shortcuts are a bit backwards. Apologies, but let's have a play. And then Control C, Control V. You can move that down here. You just move that up like so. And then another one down here. And I'm just going to turn it like this. So what we're creating is, of course, visual consistency with the drop shadow, the white, and just laying it out in a staggered way, which is quite nice. Now we are going to move into exploring the illustrations in PowerPoint. If you go into Insert, next to Shape, we have icons, select icons. And dependent on which operating system you have, I think Windows, you get a pop-up, but Mac, it's now on the right-hand side. So we have images. This is where you access your stock images. Icons, a suite of iconography that you can use as part of your PowerPoint projects. And I'm going to give a kudos to Microsoft because they've created two types of iconography. We have the solid and thick iconography here, and we also have the linear line icons that are quite neat and clean as well. So you have options for both, which I really like. We have cutout people, no comment. I think there's other ways that you can create really cool cutout people that are probably more aligned to your branding that you may have for your organization. That's not too business tacky. I say that with love. And then stickers. I really love the different kinds of stickers. You can actually use these stickers as part of this little mini project challenge that we're doing right now in PowerPoint. You can use the chickens. How cute is that? But there's a lot of really cool different types of stickers that you can use. Oh my gosh. You guys. There's Pasheen. The cat. I love this. So, whoops, I digress. Apologies. It's so cute. Anyway, we can also embed videos, and illustrations is the go-to that we are using and leveraging today. And also cartoon people, which I really love. If you are designing, I don't know, a mini explainer video or animation or guiding someone through a journey, you can leverage these really cool characters that are here, and you can customize it too. When I say animations, I actually learned how to animate using PowerPoint when I was in year 8. We animated a snail going on a journey, and it was frame by frame. So I had about, on the left-hand side, probably 200 to 250 slides with my snail moving through to the finish line. It was great. I digress. We can maybe we can do that activity in the future. If anybody wants to learn how to do frame by frame animations, we can learn it together in PowerPoint. I can show you that as well. Drop it in the comment if that's something that you want to learn and see in the future. Now, going back to our cards. Pick whatever card you like. Pick whatever illustration that you like. I will be selecting food-like stuff because we're at a buffet, obviously, and we need yummy foods. Maybe a mix of healthy stuff as well, but I'm going to start first with a burger and some chippies. And as you select your illustration, you'll notice that it will change color and it's not the yellow that you've selected. And this is just because whatever branding or color palette you've set inside PowerPoint, it will reflect that as you click in. So I am going to tilt and rotate my burger and fries, and I want to create, change the color. So I'm going to select graphic format, selecting the graphic, going to graphic fill, and you can change that to, I am going to do green, which is what I had. Oh, wrong green, bright green. Now, if you want to customize this graphic even more, you can right click the graphic and convert it to shape. So what this does now is it's breaking up the vector graphic into smaller components. So what we can do is, let's say I want to change the burger bun color to a peachy color. So you can deeply customize these colors to, again, your branding colors. But for the purpose of this exercise, I am going to keep it as is. Now let's go and explore more illustrations to align with our first page. Going to insert, icons, and illustrations again. So you can select drop down, illustrations, and I want a cupcake. And what else can I grab? Food. Maybe we can do a orange. Oh, I ended up being very healthy. Let's see what else we can grab. Maybe an ice cream cone. Ooh, let's do a sundae and then insert. So now we have our graphics here. Making sure that you move it to the card of your choice. Move it down here. And just rotate it as well. Cupcake. Move it up here. Rotate, and then an orange, because health. Let's whoop. Oh no, let's move the orange around a little bit, and I'm going to change the colors. So I'm going to change this to another kind of blue that I have. I like this bright one, and then down here I had orange, so I'm going to use this orange. And then for the orange, I am going to change it to like a, maybe like a, oh gosh, definitely like that. Maybe we can do like a pink or something. There you go. Nice. So this is our welcome page. Let's now move forward to our navigation homepage. If you go back to slide number 1, right click, new slide, or insert new slide, whichever floats your boat. Delete the unnecessary things. And one thing that I forgot on slide number 1 is to add more depth to this page. I'm going to create like kind of like a table, look and feel. We can just insert like a bar or like a rectangle across, starting from the lower bottom here. Click and drag, across. Oh no. Visualize with me that we did it. And let's make this color to the background color of our future slides. So I am going to change this to a pale yellow. More color fill. I have prepared one earlier. So the color that I'm using is, the hex color is F8, F0, E6. Just going to zoom in for everyone. Here it is, F8, F0, E6. And we're going to insert. And so make sure you remove the border. We want it nice and seamless. And I'm going to right click that and send it to back. Awesome, just little design accents. And for slide number 2, for that seamless transition, you can slide it up or even blend or merge. You can change this background color to the beige color that we've just chosen. Change the solid fill to the color. So now we have these two. The next thing that I'm going to do is now put in my cards, these cards here, the question cards, for whichever brain snack that the user wants to use. I am going to add in the copy, drop V. So pick a brain snack and reset your focus. Let's increase the size of this because it's a bit small at the moment. I'm choosing 36. And you can add in a line of instruction down at the bottom as well, if you like, but we're just winging it and having fun with what we have. Now, to keep the cards consistent, of course, I will definitely use what's on slide 1 already that we've created. So going back to slide number 1, selecting a card, Control C, and then Control V to paste in. And we are going to start laying out our cards. Now you can have fun with this. You can lay it very straight. I like to tilt things. You can do it a bit lower here like this as well. And just have some fun with it. Move it all around. Control V, and I'm going to tilt it to the right. Just a little bit. And then another one. So now we have our 5 cards. Make sure that, there's a nice even space in between them. I'm going to make this just a little smaller. So I'm going to hold Shift as I scale down. Perfect. So it spans across my page. I am going to now add in the gray box with the question mark. So insert, shapes, rounded rectangle, our favorite tool, and let's just create a square, a longish square. Change that color shape fill to a gray. We want the learners or the users experiencing this guide to have a sense of, choose your own little mini adventure for today. So element of surprise by not giving away all of your cards. That was so lame, but you get me. Okay, let's reduce the size a little bit. Awesome. And play with the rounded corners. You could even do a circle, whatever you are vibing. I am, though, however, just going to make it a little bit curved like so. And now we want to increase the width of our border here, the outline. As you can see, the card already has a thicker, weight to it as opposed to this gray square. Please always ensure that whichever weight you decide to use throughout your design to keep it consistent. So here we have our gray square. Let's go into our outline and increase the weight to 3 because that's what we used before. Perfect. Now let's add in our question mark. Very simple. Double click your gray square and punch in question mark. I want to, however, make sure that it is aligned to this font that we've chosen, the bold phosphate. So let's select that question mark, dropping down, going into your font of choice and increasing the size. I'm going to increase it to 36 and change that to black. So it pops and contrasts even more. So now that we have our first card, let's make sure that we paste that over to all of the other cards and take your time in just placing and positioning the gray box inside your card. And then we rotate. Then we rotate. Awesome. Cool beans. All right. We have our home base. And I say that very heavily. Home base and navigation hub or whatever it may be, your main menu. We need to make sure we finish that design first because in order for the morphing transition to work really well, there needs to be some form of a before graphic and an after graphic. So let's create our after graphic. The journey is if a user moves their mouse over a card, the expectation is to have the card reveal which brain snack it is, a little bit of a short blurb or a heading with a button that the user can click. And I also want these for the other cards that are not selected to reduce in size so that my main card that my mouse is hovering over gets the spotlight. So what we need to do now is duplicate the home base to make the changes. So let's duplicate slide number 2. And now we want to create a before and after. So before is slide number 2, after is slide number 3. That's the best way for me to think about when I'm creating some form of morphing interaction or morphing experience inside PowerPoint. You can create so many cool things by understanding this concept of just before and after and playing with your graphics. So in the after page, what I want to do is reduce the size of the 4 cards that will not be in use. I'm going to group it because it helps me keep to shape. And then holding shift and just moving it down a little bit. And I'm going to shift it to the right and ungroup. Right click, ungroup. So already if I were to flick back to slide number 2, before, after. Before, after. It's already changing the way that it could potentially be, which is really nice. So for the first card, I'm going to shift it in a little bit and make it bigger. So let's increase the size. I'm going to do it like this. So it'll be before, after. And move this across. Now, the first card is let's just use our fries, for example. I can then move this up. And let's make it a light green. So going to shape format, we want shape fill, light green, so that when I insert my fries and burgers, you can add in another graphic, that's fine. I'm just going to use this. It has a nice contrast and it's bright. What I'm also going to add here now is our copy for what the card is. I'm just going to paste it in. This first activity or brain snack is a 1-minute breathing exercise. So I'm going to just tilt that. And I kept the font the same as our heading, of course, for some visual design consistency. And now I'm going to add in a button. So going back to before, we have, of course, our cards that we can select and hover our mouse over. Once a user hovers over the first card, you get this: before, after, before, after. Nice. So adding in our button, insert in the panel and select icons. What we are going to do now is find an arrow that suits the vibes of the design. I am going to choose the first one. Let's choose the first one. And reduce the size a little bit. I'm going to tilt her so it's in alignment of the flow of the card, and done. Now, the next card that I'm going to create, the next slide, sorry, is what happens when the user clicks into this arrow. It should expand the 1-minute breathing exercise and have content on there. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And remember, before and after concept. So duplicate slide number 3, right click, duplicate. And now I can remove all of these 4 cards, not needed anymore. I am going to delete this heading, not needed anymore. And now this slide will be hyper focusing on the 1-minute breathing exercise. So let's rotate that around straight, move that out and increase the size. So I'm going to increase that to 36, make it a nice heading. I'm going to delete this arrow and move this card up. Make that a bit smaller. You can make it into a square. Make sure that everything is in alignment. You can use your arrow key on your keyboard as well to move and shuffle things around. And now to, of course, add in the text. Before then, I really want to create a nice clear box to add in some dimension. So going back to slide number 1, I'm just going to cherry pick the box here. So Control C and then Control V. Right click and send to back. Awesome. Now for the background color, we want this in that light green to really emphasize that this is an activity, the card that you selected, and it has an activity in there for you in all complete design alignment. So format background, and I'm going to change that beige background as it is right now to the light green that is similar to the card. You can reposition the card so that it just pops off like that, like so. And have our 1 minute breathing exercise in the center, like so. We can now add in our copy. I have something that I prepared earlier, which is here. And you can move this to the left and make sure that you have space. I'm just gonna hold my mouse here so we can see the balance of the design. As you can see, there is some dashed, red line guides, and also in the horizontal, both horizontal and vertical. What we want is to place our positioning of our text in balance on the left and have our video that we are going to insert on the right. So it creates a nice balance on the page when we're visually communicating content. Yep. And now let's add in our video. I am going to just grab the video, share, Control C, and to insert the video, go into the insert panel, and all at the end there is video, select the drop down and select online film, and then Command V and insert. Awesome. So now that we've selected our video and inserted that, make that a little bit wider, and I also want to edit the video a little bit in terms of the styling and formatting. At the moment, you can see that everything that we have here on page is a rounded corners. There's nothing that has sharp corners. I'm just going to move this down a little bit so there's some breathing room there. There you go. I can do that by selecting the video and going into video format, the panel at the top, and go into crop, drop down, and we want to crop video shape to the rounded corner. Make sure that you adjust by using the square and just shifting that out a little bit. And I also want to create an outline. So border outline, select video, border outline, black, and also the weight to be number 3, because that is what we have been using throughout. Great. Another thing that I will add in here now is a call to action. So I'm just going to copy the title and have whatever you want in here. I have try exercise or watch a video, whichever you like. Now, one thing that's missing on this page is a back button. We need to help our user or learner navigate back to the home page, which is slide number 2. So what we're going to do is insert and create a button. So insert, shape, our favorite shape in the entire world, rounded rectangle. And let's select that and move it over here. Fill that shape that you've just created with the color of your choice. For me, I will be doing black. And selecting the yellow square, hold and move it, drag it inwards to create your pure button. And also remove the border, so we want no border. And double click that and type in back to menu or back to buffet. You can be creative as you will with it. So I'm just going to go back to my home panel now and change the font type and typography to phosphate solid. And I'm going to increase that size just a little bit, maybe to 24. Perfect. So when a user selects this button, they can move back to the home page. Let's add in that right now. To add in some interactive elements, select the button, right click, action settings, and we are going to go into mouse click, link to, make sure you always select slide and then select the slide number that you can see. So we have slide number 2. Great, and okay. Awesome. So we have our first 4 slides. So you can see before we add in all of the transitions and whatnot, we have welcome. We then have our menu page. We then have our after, what happens when someone hovers their mouse over. And then we have our activity and content. Now what we can do is add in the transitions before we add in the actions. So no transitions for this first page, leave as is, but on the second page, transition, morph. And then slide number 3, transition, morph. And that's it. Slide number 4, transition, morph. Now we need to add in our actions for the mouse and the cursor to play these transitions upon trigger. If we were to go back to slide number 2, we want the user to move their mouse over for the first card to navigate to slide number 3. So how that would work is selecting your gray box, right click, action settings, and mouse over. Link to, not next slide. We need to make sure that we select the specific slide number. Only because if you were to add in more pages, more slides, and you move and shuffle the order around, it would automatically tag and attach to that slide, not the next slide. So select OK. So the trigger is, the action is, when a user moves their mouse over this gray box, it then shows the slide number 3. Save. Same thing to the white card, only because sometimes the user might move the cursor around quite a bit. So we want the same action as well. So mouse over, link to, and slide number 3, and OK, and OK. Now, what happens if they have their mouse over on here already and they want to navigate back to slide number 2? You can put in a button, but it's better to create a hover state, an invisible box, so that for every mouse movement around the beige background, it will allow the user to navigate back to slide number 2. So let's do that. In slide number 3, we have insert and shape, and we can use a average rectangle. Before you change the color to transparent, we need to add in the action settings. So right click your rectangle that you have just created, action settings, mouse over, link to, back to page number 2. So slide, go down to slide number 2 and select OK and OK. Now we can right click, send this to back, and change the color. So fill, shape fill, no fill, and also we want no border outline. Now what happens is, as we move out of this page, it goes back to the home page. We also need to add in our button trigger for next to go to slide number 4 on this card. So let's right click, action settings, mouse click, make sure that you're in that tab, link to, instead of next slide, make it a habit to go into slide number 4. Yeah, and then select OK. And that is it. Let's play it in real time and see what we've created. Let's see if I also added in an action for this button so we can always check. So right click, action settings, mouse click, so upon click, link to, instead of next slide, go into slide and select slide number 2. Okay, and okay. Now we can present and view all. Let's go into the view. We have our welcome page. Let's explore. Pick a brain snack to reset your focus. Amazing. Moving my mouse out. Great. Moving it in. Moving it out. Moving it in, and let's select our 1-minute breathing exercise. Fantastic. And it takes us through, and I can play my video. Now I want to navigate back to menu and select back menu. Great. And that is the first creation. I'll see you in part 2 of this video to create the stock photo wellbeing guide in PowerPoint.